guys, we have some good news and conspiracy theories we're going to talk about today. And I'm going to start out with a comparison, and it doesn't sound like it's going to make sense with the title of the video at first, but we're going to get there. Just stick with me. So, does anybody remember in the many varieties of court cases, especially the Australian Royal Commission, where they were seriously called out on the mat for it, in their disassociation questions and trying to pin them down to recognizing that this is in fact a cruel practice, that they shun these people, especially victims. Of all people that should get a free pass, even. The Watchtower skated around that whole thing. Like, don't you realize this is cruel? Yes, we realize it's a difficult choice and we respect their decision to make that choice. But it's cruel. Why does it have to be that way? Because they can choose to make another choice. And we respect their decision to make that choice. Do you not agree it's cruel? I don't mean to be repetitive, but we respect their decision to make that choice. We take your point. Whatever. Okay. So basically, they are in a double bind. They can choose to stay a Jehovah's Witness and face this trauma and abuse on a continuous basis and end up riddled with psychological and autoimmune related disorders. And they also have a choice that they can make to leave and lose their entire support system that is important to them, and everything that they know, everybody that they love, everything that they need right now in this very, very critical moment, that they need people they love around them. They can give that up, or they can live in trauma. Either way they lose. That's called a double bind. And I make that comparison because it makes Watchtower's own logic sound, hypocritical is probably the right word, but their logic just doesn't line up. If they think that this is fair, then why do they say that they joined the Australian redress scheme, or they reported to the news outlets that they did? I've yet to see that they've officially begun the onboarding process. Why would they tell these people that they joined because the law now requires that they joined? Like, that would be like choosing to live with your trauma for the victim. Because they had a choice. They had a choice. Just if they made the wrong one, they would no longer have tax-exempt status as a charity. But they had a choice. They had a choice. The law did not require them to join. The difference is that the law required them to join the committee in order to maintain their tax-exempt status, because their tax-exempt status was really what was important to them. Now, I've got my own little theories and points on what took them so long, because they were being threatened to lose their tax exempt status a long time ago. And I've got some theories, but let's go through these notes a little bit at a time. What the redress scheme is that it creates more of an application process for victims of abuse to receive monetary and emotional support. I don't care if you don't think that this is right, that they're just looking for a handout, because when you deal with trauma and you deal with, a continuous issue like that, you face consequences. You have counseling, which is expensive, and even if you go somewhere where it's free, you got to take time off of work. You have medication that might not necessarily be free to help you with your chemical imbalances, anxiety, depression, different ideations. You have, PTSD and extreme anxiety are both disabilities. There's going to be different careers and things that you wouldn't be able to start. I just changed careers because I didn't have the capacity between the PTSD and the fibromyalgia to continue doing what I was doing before. I'm doing a completely different job now. And it's a choice I had to make. Like, it's real. The financial impact and need for support is very real. And somebody did this to them. They didn't ask for this. That's why they're victims. They're not looking for a handout and trying to get rich. And when they are asking for a large amount of money, they're trying to make a point. That and litigating these things is expensive. It is insanely expensive. And when you win, those attorneys get part of that cost. They get part of that penalty. But the redress scheme provided an application process. It made it so that they didn't have to go through the ordeal of being heard in court and possibly having to face their abuser in court or being traumatized. And that's a really good thing, because that hurdle is one that stops so many people from reporting, because they might have to go testify at some point, and that leaves abusers out on the run. These people continue to go without support. This is really a good thing. That it was a good idea. They're not getting a huge amount of money, but the benefit to the institutions that sign up to this redress scheme is that there is a cap. There is a cap. I think it's $150,000. It's a win-win situation. You get support, you get help, you get money to help you get by and cover things that you're going to need throughout your life. And there's also a cap for the institution that, was found to be, a little bit liable for the extent to which the abuse went on. This is a good thing. I just dropped my notebook. Going through the driveway. It's a rocky driveway. Well, a potholey driveway. And then in the case of Watchtower, I don't think they liked giving up that control, that it became an application process. It was out of their hands. Watchtower is very well known to be a calcitrant litigant in court. They were told that by a judge. They are defiant to court orders and obstruct the discovery process. That's where they're told, you need to bring this evidence or that evidence. And it could be a court order for that too. And then even if they win or lose the case, there's the appeal process. Like, they lose the case, and the next thing you know, they're appealing it until they're legally not allowed to anymore. And then they try to come back at it from a different angle. Like, they drag these abuse victims through the coals. They make outrageous arguments in court. I think they're trying to see how much stupid they can get away with at times. When you look at the court things, I really think they're trying to see how much stupid they can get away with. And I'm not really surprised that they do it in court, because they think worldly people are just evil and wicked, and we know it. But they do the same thing to their adherents, so why wouldn't they do it to these evil, wicked people? But they liked that control. They liked being able to litigate these matters out of existence. They like to litigate their problem into submission. And it's just another form of abuse. They don't have that power if it turns into an application process. I'm sure they've already done the research to find out how they can do an appeal. But I mean, it would have been a win-win for them to just sign up. But they didn't like giving up that control. That, and when you look at the onboarding process for the redress scheme, I didn't get to see it, but I heard a commissioner talking about it when I was doing some research, and it's pretty extensive. It could take, 3 to 6 months very easily, and there's a lot of financials involved in that. When Watchtower was moving property out of Australia and sending money overseas, I don't think they were worried about getting sued. I think they were planning on joining the redress scheme the whole time because they knew they would have to, and they don't want anybody to know what they have. I think they were planning to the whole time, and they were just dropping this shit like it was hot and getting rid of it because everybody's going to know. Your assets and net worth are, if I heard correctly, part of that onboarding package. It's part of what takes it 3 to 6 months. They don't want anybody to know. They weren't worried about getting sued for what they were worth. They were worried about people knowing. Because they're still trying to hide the fact that they're largely a real estate company. Anywho, let me look at my notes because my brain is not what it was years and years ago. Yeah, my notes are here are saying that, like, yeah, that win-win situation would have cost less. If it's $155,000 and, the other support is kind of group funded by a collection of institutions, then, overall, it costs less. And I think that's just more of the reason I think that they were just trying to hide assets. And it would have been less traumatic for victims. It would have just been a good thing. And I don't know. It becomes an application process too, and they don't get to bully. So we talked about that point. Yeah, they've been trying to hide how much they're worth for a long time. Now, it would be very difficult for depending on the laws, but I think where I'm from, it's very difficult to take, this monetary value from Australia and use that to try and establish the monetary value of the Watchtower in the United States or New York or my state. But even still, if I remember correctly, if somebody really wanted to pay the lawyer to do it and to go through that process, as hard as it can be, they could be sued. Instead, like, a victim now has the option, I'm going to sue you for this much money, or I can take this application process and I'm only going to get this much, but I want to teach you a lesson. So I'm going to take the hit and I'm going to sue you and disrupt my life and go through all of this to try and make my point. And at that point, yeah, there is a concern with the suing, but only in Australia. For the most part. I don't know if all the laws work the same. So there is that risk. But overall, I think they're trying to keep a lid on what they're worth. They've spent decades trying to hide their value. Anyhow, they notified the media that they're planning on joining the Australian Australian Royal Commission's redress scheme. I've yet to see confirmation that the commission has spoken directly with somebody from Watchtower. I've yet to see that confirmation. But while I'm not happy with them or how they went about it, and for what's his name? They didn't take the hit. Jay the Comedian. I like his video. Go look at Jay the Comedian and why he's mad at the Watchtower for joining the scheme. Because any one of us, if we were Jehovah's Witnesses, would have been required to take the hit. Because being in a double bind is essentially the way of life for Watchtower. You just got to pick the devil you want to dance with, so to speak. Because either way, you're going to be suffering hard. And if it were any one of us, we would be obligated to take the hit. But let them start losing their mask and their charades about being a good Christian group trying to educate the world about God and the truth. And all of a sudden they got a lot to hide, and they had to do that before they joined. So, tell me what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.